Welcome to episode 181 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. And this week's episode starts off with nothing better than my fail of the week, which if you listened to last week's episode, you already know what that is. And that is after 180 episodes of making this podcast, I made my absolute worst episode last week. Not in terms of content. I felt like that was good. It wasn't until I went to listen to the episode back to make sure everything was all good to go that I realized, and this is where the fail of the week comes in, I recorded with the wrong microphone. This is the microphone that I'm supposed to be using. And it was here during the podcast, like it was right in front of me. But because I was messing around with stuff the weekend before, Clarkman wanted to do a gaming live stream, which didn't even work out. So this was all for naught. I moved it over to this microphone that I have over here, and everything was going to go through that. And then when I came back over here, I didn't realize that when I made one little change to the system that I use, that it changed everything. So I was using a microphone that's like way outside of arm's reach over here. You could still hear me, but it sounded like absolute dookie fruit. And I was so devastated when I found that out. But I didn't have it in me. Like this was like the next day. The next morning I was like, hey, I should probably export that, get it ready to go for tomorrow. This was Saturday. And then I was like, oh my God, that sounds awful. And I was like, dude, of all the things to happen, like I wouldn't care if the video cut off entirely. I wouldn't care if this is in like 6p instead of 1080p or 4K or whatever. The audio has to be good though, because this is at its heart a podcast, something that ideally you'd be listening to. You can watch it, of course, on YouTube. I imagine most people are out there multitasking. You're on some type of quest in your life right now, doing something, and you're just kind of tuning into this, maybe as like a little background thing. And I think that's pretty darn cool. And I appreciate you having me along for this journey that you're on in life. I just feel terrible though, because last week, like that journey was not a good one for you in terms of audio quality of this. So that was by far my biggest fail of the week, but we're past that now. I did a little test here to make sure we are recording with this. That microphone, I should just unplug, honestly. But now I'm super paranoid. It's like new fear unlocked. Is my podcast actually going to have any audio? something I always think about. And I saw the audio bar moving last time. So I was like, oh, we're good. Like I did have to turn the volume up, which I should have known that was a problem. But I didn't realize that it was the completely wrong microphone. Like it would have probably been better if I had just not used the microphone at all and was recording with the mic that's on this camera, because it sounded so bad. And it was just like, dude, like this is one of those things. Like I have an outline here, of course, for my episodes, but this isn't something that I script that I could just sit down and re-record. Like once I do this, it's like out. It's a release for me. That's what this is. It's like my therapy, my release, and maybe for you it's entertainment, or maybe it's therapy for you too, because you get to kind of be along with me on my journey, along in your journey too. But yeah, it was. I just didn't have it in me to go back and record it, and I didn't want to just not have an episode because it was a week of my life that things actually happened. You know what I mean? Like I can't just be like, nah, nothing happened. The episode audio sucked. I'm not releasing it. Some people, in fact, a lot of people, surprisingly, even with the title recorded with the wrong mic, people still tuned in, which I think is a testament to the community that we have here. And I'm pretty darn excited about that. So thank you for tuning in. And hopefully this episode sounds a little bit better. Let's put that behind us though, right? Like that was so last week. Let's move on to, well, we're still last week because this is I'm talking about the week behind me. Let's talk about from fails of the week. Let's go to fun of the week. Continuing on with this trend of doing of the weeks. I like that. I think it's fun. Fun of the week. It was a tie. There was two things that I did that were really fun that I was into, and I'll share both of those here with you, hopefully in stunningly good audio quality. We can even make it ASMR if you want to. I wouldn't do that to you. Knoebels Hall of Fun weekend. Last weekend was the first weekend for this. It's like I love Knoebels. I won't talk too much about that because if you're a longtime listener, you've heard me just gush about this place. Is that the right word to use there? I don't know if that's the one. You've heard me lovingly talk about Knoebels, my favorite amusement park and possibly favorite place in the world. Not that I've been to everywhere yet, but it's on my list. That's a Life is Good shirt. Knoebels Hall of Fun weekend. It's like an excuse to go to Knoebels in the fall. They have it all kind of decorated for Halloween. They have special things there like concession stands. They sell soup. They've got the haunted train ride, which is like the thing that people really go for. And you get to take the train ride through the woods that you do in the summertime, but they have it all set up with all these attractions like skeletons and Wild West theme and stuff. And it's just crazy. It's really awesome, but it's also very busy. And that was the case last week, and we decided to go like during the first weekend. Even though the weather wasn't great the day that we went, it actually started like improving in the afternoons. We're like, all right, we should probably go, and I'm glad we did, because this weekend is going to be rain tomorrow. I'm recording this on Friday the 13th of October, 1:42 p.m. I'm actually going to be recording this. It's a little bit late start today, and I'll tell you why as we get into the episode. I'm recording this, and I'm taking Roxy Bear for a you-know-what's'erd. So if I cut you guys short here, you have to understand, like, we got things, right? We were out this whole day, by the way. Yard sale bonus day. We'll talk about that and some other things I got into. But Halloween, Hollow Fun weekends at Knoebels are pretty cool. Runs throughout October. Lots of people come in for it. It's a great extension to the season. I will say, though, like, I like the summertime Knoebels, shorts, t-shirt Knoebels, hot outside Knoebels, as opposed to like everyone's wearing winter jackets and we're all kind of a little bit cold, because it was like the first actual like fall day of the year. Like, it's been fall for a little bit here in Pennsylvania, and you can see even today I'm wearing a sweatshirt if you're just listening to this. But it was like the first like coldish day. That rain had come through and then like a cold front came in. It didn't last for long, but it was like, dang, it's kind of chilly out here. So we had like pants on, which I hate. I like wearing shorts all the time, which is why I need to move to a climate where I need like shorts and t-shirts all year round. Hawaii sounds good to me. Like, let's make it a thing. Anybody have a recipe on how to make like a really viral video that would go so big that it would pay for a property in Hawaii? Let me know. Have your agent call me. So anyways, we had a good time. We rode the train, we rode the bumper cars, had a blast out there in the bumper cars. It was some just wild people out there, and I loved it. I got some soup. We got some French fries. Clark got his pickle on a stick. Do I even need to tell you that happened? You guys know what Clark Man does when he goes to Knoebels. If you watched any of the vlogs, it's like, it's like clockwork. What else did we ride there? We didn't ride the Phoenix. We rode the haunted house. The haunted house, it has some charm. It's not scary. It's more like goofy than scary. But it was fun, and we got some like great photos outside the haunted house, so that was really neat too. What else did we ride? I don't know if we rode much, honestly. The train, I think we only rode like 3 things. Again, the lines are like crazy. People come out like this, like crazy for that. And like last year when we went in, even the road, like the highway leading up to it, the traffic was stopped because people were all going down there. So this one wasn't so bad. And I think it was mainly saved just because it was raining earlier in the day. I think a lot of people just kind of wrote the day off. So I'm glad that we went. We got that checked off our list. I don't plan to go back again. That was my last time at Knoebels for the year, and it was great. It was a good time, and I was happy to go. The other fun of the week happened literally the next day. It was Columbus Day, which meant that it was a teacher in service day. Not ideal for Mrs. Brickitect, or Cody as she's known in some circles, because she did have to go into school. But for Clark and myself, it became a guy's day. And I asked Clark, man, what do you want to do that day? And his answer was to go to Hoblob, or Hobster Lobster, as it's known by at least one of my subscribers. I think I might switch over to that. I kind of like Hobster Lobster. Hobby Lobby for those uninitiated. And then he wanted to go to Arby's. We've been camping on this $20 Arby's gift card that a viewer sent us in the mail. And we just like, we need to get to Arby's. Like, we always find ourselves at McDonald's. We need to get to Arby's. So he wanted to do those things. Then we were going to go to the park and shoot off a rocket and do some RC stuff. So the whole purpose of going to Hobby Lobby was for us to actually to get more rocket equipment, which I did. We did. And we got a couple things, which I'll talk about in the next episode, segment here, which is lesson of the week. But we did that. We went to Arby's, got a whole stockpile of food. Like, we both got sandwiches. We got mozzarella sticks. Ray recommended the mozzarella sticks. We got the jalapeno poppers. We got the curly fries. Arby's curly fries are just like, are they the best French fry in the game? They may be. So we got this whole pile of food, and the total cost was $20.72. So lunch cost me 72 cents that day, which was like kind of wild. The people in Arby's, the workers there, super nice. I even struck up a conversation with the dude that was waiting for his food in there, and he was talking about is it gyros? He likes having those there, and he was getting some milkshakes and stuff too. And I was just like admiring their menu. Their menu is much more extensive than McDonald's. Like, they have a lot of stuff, and I would like to go back there some more to try it. But Arby's was good. We took that home. We had it for lunch. Cody was like home for just a few minutes during that time frame, and she actually brought home sticky buns for us. So we had a sticky bun kicker for dessert, and it was all very good. But after that, we went to the park. We launched the last engine from our initial rocket that we had. Again, we bought a bunch of rocket equipment at Hoblob, but I was like, hey, let's just go launch one just for funsies. And we launched it and it went up, but our parachute didn't come out. It was like another fail of the week. Not nearly as big as not having audio or decent audio on my last podcast, but it was most certainly a fail. It went up and then it just came back down. Everything was like kind of blackened inside of it. So I was like, okay, that sucks. But later that night ended up building a rocket kit from Estes. My first time ever building one of their kits. And that takes us to lesson of the week. And my lesson of the week is buy pre-assembled rockets from Estes. Don't bother with the kits. I just suck at that kind of stuff. Like I've done like car model kits as a kid. And whenever you get like the glue and stuff involved, I just don't have the patience for it. Like Lego is fun because you can just pour your pieces out and you're just building and snapping things together and it's a great time. I don't need to sell you on how awesome Lego is because there's like a 80% chance that you probably are also a Lego fan. If I'm doing my math properly here. Model kits, though, it's like you got to put a little glue on, you got to stick something together, you got to wait for that to dry, which I don't wait for, and then you get like your glue fingerprints all over everything. And then like I just don't have the patience for it, and it just didn't turn out the way that I wanted it to. And I was trying to like get this one thing to kind of like stick to itself, and I put a clip on it, and the whole thing glued itself together. So I don't think I had the right glue either. It sucked. So I just like scavenged the parts off of that model rocket that I'm going to put onto our original one that needs some things replaced on it. And the other one I think I'm just going to return because Clark and I were looking on Amazon and it turns out they've got a Saturn V 1/200 scale pre-assembled rocket kit. It's $65. So this is going to be an expensive loss when the thing ends up in a tree, but it's really cool. And they have other ones that are pre-assembled as well. So like, I think that's the path that I'm going to go here on when it comes to the world of rocketry is just everything's pre-assembled. I'm not going to bother with the kits. I guess it's supposed to be like a fun learning opportunity, but it's like what I really want to do. Like I love to build Lego, but when it comes to rockets, all I want to do is put an engine in that thing. I want to hit that button. I want to see it go up in the air, right? Like that's what I want to do. So I'm going to return some of that stuff at the Hobster Lobster. And then I think we might end up getting the Saturn V. $65. That's going to be, gosh, you're going to see a grown man cry when that thing goes up in the air and it starts floating towards the trees. And I've got $65 in the tree. I've done it before. I've actually put more than that in the tree out there at the park. I flew a plane into the tree once. That sat up there for about 6 months until all the leaves came down. Never saw it again. But that was over $100. You know, it's the cost of doing business, I guess. You know, it's like the play tax. Sometimes you just lose things. There's tragic events. The fun thing though is like if you know anything about YouTube, when bad things happen or drama happens, people like that stuff the most. Like I could put out a happy video, right? We've seen it before in these podcast episodes. I put out a happy video and it's like, here's an example. You ready? I titled this episode, Best Week of My Life. People are like, oh, great. Greg had a great week. Good for him. I titled this episode, Worst Week of My Life. Everybody flocks in. They're like, what happened? Spill the tea. They're getting their popcorn. They're like ready for it. You know, you want to hear the bad thing that happened. You want the drama. And I kind of hate that a little bit about YouTube. And it's like everywhere. In fact, this isn't my YouTube rabbit hole of the week, but it's kind of related to it. It came across a Star Wars channel and it was like something, it was about why Star Wars merchandise sales are down by 65% or something like that. And it was basically like Disney's kind of dropping the ball with the new trilogy that they came out with and the characters aren't exciting and all this. Okay, fine. But then I was like, what else does this guy do? So I'll go to his other videos and every single video this guy makes is something like bashing or hating on Star Wars or some type of other movie situation. Every single video is a negative one. And the guy does pretty well. And it's like, okay, so this is what you do. This is what you put out to the world. You put out negativity. You put out like things that, I mean, obviously it gets people to click. Like they got me. I was like, wow, why is the Star Wars merchandise or toy line, why is it failing? You know, like I need to know. Now, if he said it was up by 65%, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense. It's like they're putting out all these shows on Disney Plus. Like I don't really need to watch the video. And I guess that's kind of what it comes down to is it's people want to be like outraged online. They want to like, whether it's something that you agree with and you're like, Here's another example. This is just an arbitrary one. The new iPhone sucks. You make a video titled that. And you got people that love iPhone, or love Star Wars, for example. They get on, they're like, it's not true. There's so many good things about it, right? You get those people that are fired up. Then you get the people that agree with it. The Android peeps are like, yeah, iPhone does suck. And regardless of where you fall on the spectrum of things you like or don't like, if you make a video hating on something, it has a much bigger response than if you liked it. And a while back, I wanted to do an experiment on my Lego channel where I was going to do the same video, but one of them had a negative title and one had a positive one. Same exact video. Nothing changed in them. And I just wanted to see what would happen. I think it's kind of fascinating. It's an interesting look at the human psyche. And I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of it. Obviously, I watched that video and I just literally said to you that I probably wouldn't have watched it if it had been a positive video. But it's just that I guess people are drawn to those type of things. And I don't know what it is. It's like I think people want one of two things on the internet or in social media, for example. They either want to be outraged and fight that outrage, or they want to have their beliefs confirmed and they want to know that they're right. It's one of those two things, and it's fascinating. I'm sure there's books on the matter, and I would be interested in getting into those, which I guess could take us into Listen of the Week. The Hobbit. When we're going down to Knoebels, I had obviously an hour plus to drive there and back. I got the book The Hobbit, and we started reading that, Clark and I. But I was like, you know what? Books are great, and I know there's a good case for reading. Kids, if you're out there, read. But there's something that I love about listening. My favorite thing to do each week is listen to podcasts. It's something that I thoroughly look forward to, and I'm always short on podcasts. I listen to everything as soon as it comes out. And I'm like, oh crap, and I got nothing. I was like, let me just get the Hobbit on Audible, which I'm subscribed to, and we'll listen to that on the way down, on the way back. And I loved it. We got I think it's Andy Serkis. He's the narrator, and it's so good. And I'm getting so much more out of listening to it than I would be reading it, because he does such a great job with the narration. It truly takes me to that place. Whereas if I'm sitting there reading it, and I know there's something to be said about like reading the words and coming up with things in your mind. But some people are just, you're just built different, as the kids would say. And sometimes you just want to like sometimes seeing things. Some people like to see things. Some people like to hear things. We all learn and absorb information in different ways. I'm an audio guy, which is last week is a testament to that, because I almost jumped off my roof after I found out that, no, I didn't. Don't send anyone here, guys. After I found out the podcast sucked. But yeah, audio to me is just like, it's the way, in the words of the Mandalorian. Who, did you know his sales are down by 65%? Click here to find out why. No, I don't know. I just love it. I love the book, and I've listened to it quite a bit, and I love it because I can do other things. Like, I'm a guy that's always busy doing something, and to read a book takes time. Like I have to sit down and like, this is a moment where I'm gonna like have to put into this, where I can be like working on a Lego set, or I can be doing cleaning or whatever, walking Roxy Bear, and I can listen to The Hobbit, and I'm just like, oh, I love this. The Hobbit's so good too. And it's a fun fact, I think the audiobook's only like 10 hours long. And it's funny because like usually audiobooks are like extraordinarily much longer than the movie that they make from that. But when you add up the 3 movies, which they've stretched out to be 3 movies of The Hobbit, I think it's probably like the same runtime. So it's kind of crazy. I think the Hobbit, and I watched a video that was talking about this too. The Hobbit probably should have just been one movie, but they need that sweet dough. So you got to break it up into 3 parts. So that was my listen of the week, and I guess read of the week. And I do have one more Audible credit that I'm going to use on something. I like typically like nonfiction. Specifically, I need to get a book on how to speak properly. That would be a good one. I like almost like a journal of sorts. Like, this is what I like to make. I like someone's journal or autobiography. So I might look into something like that. Like, find somebody very fascinating and be like, tell me your life story. You could tell me all the things that happened to you in a week, but I want to know everything that happened in your entire life as someone that's actually interesting, right? Or someone that's accomplished something in their life. I think that'd be really cool. You guys, though, you keep listening to my boring life. You don't need to go find out that some other person out there is doing amazing things and how successful they've been. Let's just stick with our weekly thing here. But me, I need something. I need somebody out there that's doing that. So I'm going to, if you have any recommendations, throw it out there for me. But I'm going to go on the hunt after the Hobbit's over with, which I might actually finish this week, depending on how much listening I do. In fact, I'll probably be listening to that when I take Boo out for a walk today. So we'll probably end up cranking that out pretty quickly, and I'm gonna need another book soon. Let's see what's next. Oh, win of the week. Win of the week makes a return. If you have a win of the week you'd like to share, you can throw it out there. But mine was eBay popping off like crazy. You guys know that one of my little things this year has been selling off things that I find no value in or no use in, and trying to sell it for money that I can then put towards something else, or just clearing out the house. Also, I've been into the habit of buying things at yard sales. More on that soon. That I flip for really good money, and that's kind of what this whole week was. Last Sunday, it was my day off. I talked to you guys about getting all my work done during the week, so the weekends I take off like normal people do. I mean, there are people that work during the weekends, but most people have like a day or two off each week, I think, where they're just like, I'm not going to do anything today. Me personally, I have a real problem accomplishing the not doing anything. No 0 days is not a hard thing for me to accomplish, because I always want, everything that I do, I want to do. And I had all this yard sale stuff, Lego, non-Lego, that I needed to get listed. So Sunday I went crazy. I listed like 30 items that day. And wouldn't you know it, shocking. This is going to be the biggest shock of the week for you. If you list it, they will buy it. Like, the more you list, the more they buy. It's almost like if you make more videos, more people will view your stuff, or like you'll get more views, because it's like you put the work in, essentially, is what I'm trying to say, right? You put the work in, and the rewards come from the work. It's almost like that's how the world works, right? So I listed a bunch of stuff, and wouldn't you know it, Sunday, Monday, like just going crazy, all my stuff selling. And by Tuesday, I even sold some things Tuesday morning. By the time I went to the post office on Tuesday, I had 3 like reusable grocery bags full of little boxes of things that I sold. It was nuts. And I made some big sales on some things that I bought. Like, I'm talking like 10 to 20xing my money across the board. I made some really smart purchases in the yard sale season. And I'm wishing now, I wish I would have bought more stuff. It's almost like you can't lose. Like, worst case scenario is you spend a little bit of money on something that you list and it just sits there forever. And I have a few things like that. But whenever I list, I always try to price my stuff just under what everyone else is. I'm like, if somebody's going to look for this thing, mine is going to be the one that they're going to buy. I'm going to go slightly under, because like I got it so cheap. Like, if you have somebody out there that paid $20 for this item that they don't use anymore, and they're trying to get their money back out of it, like, they're not willing to come down very much. But if I got it for $1, I'm like, dude, I'll take 18. Heck yeah, I'll take $18 on something I spent $1 on. Friggin' rights I will. So that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been making bank. My biggest win of the week in terms of selling is I bought this like 2-way radio Garmin thing. It's like a GPS radio thing. And it was $15 at this yard sale. And I was like, that's got to be worth something. So I brought it home, did nothing with it. But then this weekend, I finally listed it for $150, which was actually less than what the other ones were listed for. Literally sold that thing. I made $150 off a $15 purchase. So if you ever wanted some encouragement to go out yard selling and go and flipping and stuff, there you go. Do you need anything more than that? I mean, obviously we go to a lot of yard sales, and that was just one thing that I found. But I also sold, even today, I sold this Philadelphia Eagles pin, which ended up selling. I got it for like $1. I sold it for $20. And that kind of takes me to, I'm going to skip like a couple things here today, but to the surprise of the week. And that was, today was a yard sale day. I got a phone call from the bud man last night, and he's like, hey, there's like 6 yard sales tomorrow. Do you want to go? And he was thinking I would say no. I was like, dude, do I want to go? Yes. And we went out today, and speaking of pins, I ended up probably my greatest score of the day. You'll see the whole video on it. Of course, I'm documenting it. But I got this bin of pins. They were 25 cents each, but there's a whole slew of them in there. And after having that sale where I sold a $1 pin for $20, I was like, let me just see what I can get this for. So I asked the guy, I said, how much would you want for all of these? And there was a ton of them in there, and they were 25 cents each, like I said, but he was like $3. I was like, whoosh. So I handed the $3 over to him. And then when I got out in the car, I looked, and 2 of the pins that I saw in there, they had each sold on eBay for $10 each. So literally, if I sell 1 pin out of this entire lot, we're talking 1 pin out of probably like 40, I can triple my money. I sell 2 pins. 6x. We'll go 6x my money. 6 sextuple my money. So yeah, that's going to keep me busy with listing. I'm going to list all those bad boys. I still have all those Skylanders to list too. I'm going to try to get $5 each off all those. Like I'm going to have some things to list over the winter, which is great because, well, I'm not even going to say it, but I'll say it. I think yard sale season's over. This has been by far the best and longest yard sale season of our entire careers. Usually they end like with the community yard sales, but my mother and father-in-law, they keep looking. They know I love it. And like, I think they get a big kick out of all of us going out together. And I love going out with them too. So we ended up finding some today, and I found some decent scores today at each of the yard sales. No Lego today, though, surprisingly, but I found some good stuff that I can hopefully sell and flip, including something else that I bought, my first stuff, that could be a very dangerous path to the dark side, if you will, because it's tied into my rabbit hole of the week, and that is YouTube doing me dirty and started recommending me these Star Wars Black Series collector videos where people are showing off their entire collection of Black Series figures, all set up on a wall, nicely set up with like reviews and all this stuff and talking about each one. And I'm just like, oh, these are so cool. And then I was talking about it to my buddies on Discord, and one of them said about going to Ollie's and seeing if they have any of them there on the cheap. So we did that today. We were down there. My in-laws had to go to Sam's Club. I'm like, hey, can you just drop me off at Ollie's real quick? And I just want to do a quick scan in there. And I did, and I ended up with a C-3PO Black Series figure that I got for $8. And he's so cool. I haven't opened him up yet, but I'm going to. Like, I'm not the type of dude that keeps everything in the package. Like, I'm going to open them up and like enjoy them. They had a bunch of other ones there that were like nothing that I would want. These are like the rejects. I don't know how C-3PO made it there, but he did. And it might be like the first of many. So like this YouTube rabbit hole of the week where they sent me down the path of the Black Series. If you know what Black Series, it's like some really high quality action figures. I don't need another collection in my life. This is like when I've been almost lured into Funko Pops before. And I'm like, dude, if I do this, it's going to be real bad because I love finding deals. And every time I see a deal on a Funko Pop, I would be buying it. And I have a whole wall of Funko Pops. But they're not as cool, in my opinion. Sorry, Funko lovers. They're not as cool as what Black Series figures are. I love the realism and just like the posability and everything about it. So like, I might be going into the dark side. So wish me luck with that. I'll report back. I don't know. I might do like little videos on these. I don't know. I'm just unboxing it, like posing it up. I at least got to do a video on my first one that I got. Because then we can always go back and look at it like 3 years from now when like these shelves back here are completely lined up with Black Series figures. You can be like, oh yeah, that's where it started. That's where Greg started his addiction. Because I do have a very addictive personality. And when I go in on something, it's, you know, I really go in on it. So that's my YouTube rabbit hole of the week. But I have one other thing. I guess my purchase of the week, and this is another like kind of like thing that I've perused on YouTube quite a bit and watched people go through, but I've never done it myself, but had an interest in. And it's also the deal of the week. I ended up getting Elden Ring for PlayStation 4. This is a $40 game typically at GameStop. And I saw a deal on it for $20. And it had to be store pickup because they were charging shipping. And when you know it, my store had exactly one in stock. And I saw the deal and I was like mulling it over. And like a couple days went by and it was still there with one in stock. So I was like, all right, frig it. I have to go to Lowe's anyway, which I did. I got some weed killer and some stone, if you're curious. You'll see a video on it, of course. I went down and ended up picking up Elden Ring. And a GameStop, man, I'm wondering how long they're going to be around for. Like, I think about this in almost every place I go. Like, I used to think about that at the mall. Like, how long is the mall going to be here for? Not long. I used to think about that at Kmart. How long is that going to be around for? Not long. I thought about that pretty much everywhere I go these days. Movie theater. But GameStop in particular, I pulled in there. And I walk in the door. I'm the only person in the entire store, of course. And both of the cashier guys come running at me. And I'm just like, oh, I'm here to pick up a game. And the guy gets it for me real nice and everything. But then I walked out and I'm just like, I wonder if this is going to be like the last time that I ever go to GameStop. Because I can't imagine. Like, I think like video games obviously aren't something that people typically buy physical that much anymore. I do like it. But even I'm kind of coming around to not having to switch discs. Like Minecraft is the biggest pain in the bootholomus that we have because we have it for PS4 and then every time Clark wants to play you have to have the disc in, and I wish I would have just bought that digitally because then you could have it on PS3, PS4, PS5. It'd be so nice. This similar situation I guess on this, but this physical was actually cheaper, and I thought being that this is a game that is an acquired taste. If you don't know what Elden Ring is, it's kind of like it's a very dark, like you're kind of like a knight of sorts, and you go out and fight all these monsters, and it doesn't hold your hand. There's no real story. It's just like you go in and you try to fight these things, and if you die, you lose your money. Essentially, they're called runes, and if you die again before you collect them, you lose it. You're dead. That's it. I think you can keep playing over and over again, but it requires a lot of concentration, and you have to really be into it, and it's very challenging, at least for like a noob like me, because I've never played any of these type of games before. And I thought, in this case, unlike a digital thing where if you don't like it, you're kind of like you're stuck with it. If I don't like this game after playing it for a bit, which I played a bit of it and I enjoyed it, I could always just sell it and probably make all my money back, being that it was only $20. So that was an interesting experience going into GameStop to buy a game. The last time I was in there, I believe, was when Clark and I got that Thanos Infinity Gauntlet, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. We paid $100 for it, but it's been a prop and we've used it quite a bit. But yeah, I don't know how much longer they're going to make it. I think for them to survive, and I talk about this in my video, I think they really need to lean into like the collectible side of things, like the action figures, the memorabilia from games, all of that stuff I think will be okay. But can they make enough money off of that stuff to survive and have a physical location like they do? That's the question. Because even like Best Buy, our Best Buy's gone. Like they sold games, music, all that stuff. That's all gone. People just go to Walmart or they go on Amazon. They buy that stuff now. It's the days of walking into a store and looking at a whole lineup of TVs and being like, honey, which one do you think looks the best? Which one sounds the best? You go on YouTube and you watch a review on TVs or whatever, or you look at the Amazon reviews. That's just like where we're at. And it sucks because I like having physical places. And actually one of our topics that we're getting into in listener feedback is going to talk about that. So let's jump into listener feedback with a little bit of, I guess, recap of last week. You guys had some thoughts on the audio issues, starting with Brickbox Daily. He says, I'll be honest, this makes me appreciate the work you do for quality audio. You always say that no one cares and it's all for nothing, but I had no idea how much you actually did to make the pod sound amazing. Listen, I don't do anything really to like edit the audio other than like the only thing I do is make sure I'm using the right microphone, which I didn't do last week. But I don't like edit this at all. This is just coming straight from the microphone. I just sit here and I talk about whatever. It's not, the room's not treated in any way. I don't have any kind of like crazy mixer or anything like that. It's really not any work at all. This is the easiest thing that I do all week. And it's one of my favorites as well. I just sit down here and I talk, and it's, it's not highly, it's not a tight show by any means. I have my little outline. There's no script here. I say filler words like and I go off on tangents. I talk about random stuff, but I think that makes it feel more like you're sitting down with a friend, right? If we sat down, say me and you were having coffee right now, I wouldn't be sitting here with a teleprompter talking to you about my week. We would have a little back and forth. I mean, your end of it, you're not saying much right now. This is just me going on and on. You're sitting there having your coffee. You're eating some pie or something. You're just kind of like, man, this guy talks a lot. I'm never going out for anything with this person ever again. You swiped left or right on Tinder or whatever that is. If we're out on a date, which thank you for. Am I paying or are you paying? I don't know who's taking who out here, but I guess I'll pay since you put up with me. This is just like a little thing that I like to do. I just like to sit down, but having the right microphone certainly does help. And when I listen back to this, because I always. Like, I don't listen to the whole thing because I can't bear to deal with myself any more than I already do. I just cut off like the very beginning and end when I'm like clicking buttons. But it usually, to my ears, it sounds pretty good. I never have listened to this as a podcast. Like I've heard it on YouTube or like when it's exporting, but I have no idea how it sounds as a podcast or how it compares to other people's podcasts. I should probably listen to it at some point. I just like, why would I want to? I'm out. Like I can't deal with it. So let me know how it sounds as a podcast. I guess most people must like it because I haven't heard any complaints. But it's no work at all. It's just it's not screwing up is the hardest part for me. Next one comes from Dallas Scott. It says, oh, good, Greg. He's trying to make me feel better. He said, Greg, you're an idiot. How could you fail us? No, he said, happens to the best of us. Still a great podcast. It gets us through our days. Oh my God, feel good comment of the week. Your podcasts are the best part of my Sundays. And I love to hear what you're up to and how everything's going. Thanks for always making our days better and sharing your life with us one piece at a time. I like that. Wait, he said One Piece. Be king of the pirates. Good show, by the way. If you haven't watched One Piece live action, it's so good. Thank you, though. Thank you for the kind words. Next one comes from Johnny's Happily Ever After. I actually talked to my father-in-law about this today. He says, "Hello, Greg. I enjoy listening to your podcast. I also enjoy all your videos and projects you're working on. This week, I ran into your father-in-law at an auction. I went to. I was so nervous to go up and say hi, but I did, and he was so nice. When I said this to him, I made a joke like, are you sure it was the right person? And I thought that was funny. Okay, it was just not funny. Okay, I'm moving on. I'll see myself out. He says, I also do the same things with projects, and your videos are helping me get the motivation to do them. That's cool. As far as the podcast, maybe something you can do is ask a question you come up with to ask the audience weekly, and we can answer in the comments. Thanks for sharing. Looking forward to next week's podcast." Dude, I don't know what more I can do to get people to comment. I try. I ask questions like, what's your dream job? I ask questions all the time to try to get you guys like involved and get you going. Because last week, thank God, we didn't really have any listener feedback. There really wasn't much to go off of. So if there was an episode to screw up, episode 180 was the good one because it was only like 30 minutes long. But like, dude, I try to get people like involved, but it's like, it really is like pulling teeth to get people to comment on these podcasts. I don't know what it is. I guess like even me, like I listen to podcasts throughout the week, and like there was one in particular, this guy kind of does what I do. And he said, and this is maybe how you feel. He actually put a lot of effort into this particular episode with like some background noise and like some music and things he was talking about. And it really made it like impactful. But then he did an episode where he was talking about the feedback on that. And he said, I spent a whole day making this podcast essentially, and he got no feedback from anyone on it. And he was talking about how he kind of felt crushed a little bit. Like he felt like, wow, I did all that for nothing. But then I thought to myself, no, you didn't do it for nothing. Like I really enjoyed it. It made it really special, but obviously I didn't go out of my way to say anything. Like I'm a patron of his even. Like I could have went on his Discord and be like, dude, killer podcast. Like I loved it. I didn't do that. So like I have to assume as a podcast maker myself, there's probably people out there, like obviously we just heard from a few people, like this means a lot to some people. Like just having this as a part of your weekly routine, which is like a big thing for me with podcasts. Like I look forward to it every week. If you don't make a podcast episode for me, I feel like I'm at a loss. Like, where's my podcast? This is a part of my like Monday or Wednesday or whatever. And there's probably, I could be describing you, and this could be something that you've listened to religiously for 180 episodes, even the one that had bad audio quality, but you've never said anything. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I don't actively participate in videos or podcasts, like, but I certainly enjoy them, and that's okay. I do love the listener feedback portion because it does add an element to this where it's not just me yapping about stuff, and it does allow me to go down like other tangents and talk about things that I wouldn't have before. And sometimes like we had the repeat offenders, of course, that always chime in on things, which I love. But I always implore people, if there's a topic or anything like that you want to hear about or hear my take on, throw it out there. And we actually have one of those things here, which we'll get into here after we talk about the olive oil situation. If you guys remember the story from last week, if you could hear it, Cody and I were at the farmer's market, and ex-coworker of her, retired gentleman from the school, was there peddling his wares. He sells olive oil, and he drew us over and immediately started selling Cody on this olive oil. Me knowing that she couldn't get out of it, knowing that she's a bit of an olive oil snob, I tried playing bad cop, and I tried like getting her out of buying the olive oil. So I started like asking the guy questions about it and kind of turning my nose up to his answers, and kind of like being a whatsard, you know what I'm saying? And she didn't follow my lead whatsoever, and she bought the olive oil. So we ended up walking away from that with me looking like a complete, whatsard. And, she's like, I don't think she appreciated the effort that I put through. And it wasn't even me. That's not who I am. I would never have done that to like a normal person, but I was trying to save her from it. And, it didn't go well. But Ronnie says, the story of you morphing into Dr. Disrespect was a good one. Dr. Dis. Respect. I can relate to Cody as sometimes we just have to pay $5 a month to support a friend. Ronnie is a member on my Brickatech channel, which I'm very appreciative of. He does not have to, Ronnie, if you're listening, you don't have to do that. I have like this solid group of dudes I think they're all guys actually that are members on my Brickatech channel, and they're in the Discord and we chat and stuff. And it's something that I really love. I love that little community that we have there. I don't feel like I give any like real value for like being a member, other than the fact that I am pretty active there. But Ronnie's been with me forever, and I consider him like an actual friend of mine, a dude that I've never met before in my life, but we've met through this means, this YouTube thing, and it's wild. And he makes, well, he used to make vlogs and podcasts and things, and he still does on more of a private level. And he's like, his thing's like a thing that I look forward to every week too. So it's like, that's, and I told him, like, I'm like, dude, you make a Patreon or member thing and I'm in. Like, I'll pay whatever it takes to support you. But he supports me even in a time when he's not into Lego. Like, he's moved on from Lego, he's in Pokemon. And that's just like the natural progression for a lot of people. Not necessarily to Pokemon, but like Lego usually serves people for a certain part of their life. And then they move on. They do other things. They're not a lifer like me. They're not a guy that's been like heavily invested in this his entire existence and continues to do so. But he continues to support me and my channel, and it's a good lesson to me. Like sometimes you have to pay $5 to support a friend. Luckily, he doesn't have somebody that's like, dude, like you don't even like Lego. Leave his Discord or whatever. You're not a jerk, Ronnie. You're not a jerk like me. Dr. Disrespect over here. And I appreciate that, man. Next one we got from is my other buddy, No Dig Garden Channel, who now I'm now G Money. I like it. He says, olive oil, I can help. This dude, like, he is my go-to garden guy. I love his videos. You got to sub. He says, the wife's family is from Greece. Yes, full-blown. My big fat Greek wedding. Loving it. Anyways, seek out OLGA Greek olive oil. This is a pro tip to not only me, but everyone listening. It's fantastic and not in plastic. You can find it in retail glass bottles or metal big wholesale containers. I wish they would let you send photos and comments. Cheers, Bobby. Yeah, this dude, like, buying his olive oil in bulk from Sam's Club and buying the Sam's Club brand, like, that was enough of a reason for me to be Dr. Disrespect, right? And I knew Cody wouldn't be satisfied with the olive oil. I felt like I was doing the right thing. It still haunts me to this day. I can't show my face there again, but I've determined what I'm going to do next time we go to the farmer's market and he's there, even though we haven't tried the olive oil yet. I'm going to go over to him and I'm going to tell him how good the olive oil is. It's going to be a little bit of a lie, but I want to like smooth things over with him. I'll be like, dude, he might not even, I'm sure he remembers because he was like, man, that her husband's such a jerk. I'm going to be like, best olive oil I've ever had in my life. Are you sure that's from Sam's Club? I don't know. Maybe honest. I mean, I shouldn't do anything. I might just I'll put my hood up when I go there like this, like a Sith Lord. And I'm just going to walk right past him and not say a darn word's what I probably should do. Anyways, thanks for the recommendation on the Greek olive oil. Probably much better than Members Mark from Sam's Club in the plastic bottles. Last comment we have here comes from our boy Joey. He says, something to talk about next week in listener feedback. My man came through. He says, this week my phone fell out of the 9th floor window and was absolutely demolished on the street below. I'm not someone who's super attached to my phone, so I thought, oh man, that sucks, but I'll live. So I've gone three or so days without a smartphone, and I'm finding myself angry at myself and disappointed by the fact that I feel like I need this little box with me at all times. I had to write down directions to the Apple Store on a piece of paper and got lost so many times. It was scary. I'm in my early 20s, by the way. I feel frustrated that the world as it is requires us to have these things, but they make my life so much more convenient. I seriously considered going for the flip phone, but I figured it would be too inconvenient for communication and music and photos. This comment is fantastic, and I'm so thankful that you left this, sir, because this reminds me of a story, the story of the week, if you will, on one of Cody's coworkers. She's about our age, and she has a couple young kids, and she lets the oldest of the young kids, who's probably a couple years younger than Clark Mann, use her phone for watching videos. And when you know it, this little bugger, he left her phone on like the hood or trunk of her car when they were outside. And she didn't realize it. They had went in for the night, and that night her husband went to work. And when you know it, that flown, it is a flown because it flown off the back of her car and got demolished. And just like you, she was pretty upset, but I think she might have had it even worse because she didn't just say, oh, that sucks, but I'll live. she was devastated because she has all of her precious memories, photos and videos on there and not backed up anywhere else. We're talking her pregnancy photos, the time that her kids met each other, like literally the most important video that you've ever taken in your life. Your older son meeting your daughter for the first time in one place on that phone, and the thing got demolished. They recovered the phone, and apparently they're talking to a company about like recovering the information from it. But when Cody told me that story, as a guy that records content for a living and has lost files before, like the first time we went out to visit Kyle and Landon at their new house back in like 2017 when they moved out to near Pittsburgh, I recorded that whole weekend and somehow I deleted the SD card, and I was devastated about that. But it wasn't like me bringing my baby home, right? Like I'm even sick thinking about it right now. And it's just like, oh my gosh. So lesson to everyone out there right now, get yourself an external hard drive or some cloud service or whatever you can and back up all of your photos and videos. Back those things up. I don't care if it costs you a couple dollars a month or if you have to spend some money to get a decent sized hard drive. Back that stuff up, because you lose that phone, that thing falls out of your hand. Anything could happen. You do not want to lose those precious memories. Like I'm in fear the whole time we're on vacations, because I record my whole vacation on a phone, and I'm like, dude, if I lose this phone, like it's gone. And like when I'm out in the ocean swimming and my phone's like in the chair, I'm like always kind of glancing up there like, dude, please no one steal my phone. I don't know if phones are something that people even want to steal these days because of all the how locked down they are. You couldn't really do much with it. But it is kind of worrisome when you have all those memories, especially when you're someone like me who's like recording 24 hours a day to make like these little videos out of. It's like you don't want to, oh, there's Mellow Cat. You don't want to lose that stuff. But what she lost is like devastating. I don't even want to hear a follow-up on this story, because like if it's gone forever, I'm just like, I'm devastated. Like I'm devastated for her. But as far as your story is in terms of like breaking a phone and then feeling the loss of not having it, I'll say this. This is my thoughts on the whole having a phone and using a phone. I think phones are a great tool when used properly. I think, if you're using it for maps or listening to an audiobook or whatever the case is, catching up on the news, wonderful. I think where phones become a problem is in social media, when you're spending a little too much time doing the little swipey swipe on the TikTok or YouTube Shorts or watching YouTube or, Twitter, X, whatever it is these days. You're on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is that you do, your vice, because you probably have one where you spend a lot of time doing that thing. Speaking of that, I'm still TikTok free. I just stopped going to TikTok one day and I just haven't been back. And I don't feel like I'm not missing anything. I get so much more value out of YouTube, and they've been doing a smashing job at recommending things to me, like the Star Wars Black Series thing. Like the algorithm seems to have figured me out somehow. And I oftentimes click the new to you thing, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I'm finding all kinds of stuff. TikTok is out of my life. I wasn't getting value from those short form videos. I wasn't and I know there's value to be had there, but I'm not missing it. But I think that's where we get in trouble, is in the social media side of things and how much time we're spending on those things. I do think it's handy to have a phone, first of all, for directions, for maps, wonderful. If you need to make a phone call, in the rare event that you actually use your phone for making a phone call, nice. The whole paper maps thing, man, I remember doing that. Like when I had my job before, we had to go out to people's homes on occasion, and I'd have the paper, it was MapQuest printed out with turn left on this road and right on this road. And it's like, dude, if you miss that turn, it's not like your phone where you're rerouting. It's you're screwed. So I feel your pain with losing or smashing your phone and not having it. I do think it's good to have one, but with great power comes great responsibility. And that's absolutely the case with phones, because it's very easy to get sucked into that kind of stuff, because that's what the algorithms are really there for. They're there to take advantage of you. You really need to think of social media as a thing that it doesn't have your best interests at heart. Its sole purpose is to keep you on that app as long as it possibly can by feeding your little reptilian brain everything that it wants to see. And it's a great thing, but it's just like eating a bunch of potato chips. It's not really good for you. It's great in the moment and you're like, oh, these are so good. But then after you're done, you're like, oh, that wasn't the best choice for me. So that's my thoughts on that. But I do appreciate you throwing that out there, because she told me that story way earlier in the week, and I actually talked to Ronnie about that, but I had forgotten about it until your comments. So this is the reason, if you're one of those peeps that have been tuned in for 181 episodes now and you've never once said anything, throw some stuff out there like that. Something that happened to you this week. Dude, I bet I can relate to it. I bet I can have a story with it, or I can at least react to it. I can become one of those react YouTubers that just sit and watch videos, and then you like say little things about it and like steal the views of all the people who will do that. That's my future here on Missing Pieces, right? Not really. But I did enjoy sitting down with you this week, hopefully in a little bit better audio quality. I'm going to check this back right away. If the audio sucks or something goes wrong, I can't do this again. It would be like 10% as good, which is kind of what last week was. But we're moving forward, moving on. Had a great week this week. Lots of fun stuff. You got all my things of the week, I think, covered. Yeah, I think I got it all. So maybe some future in playing Elden Ring, some Black Series stuff. Rocket stuff obviously coming. And it was fun. Oh, I got a Lego purchase of the week too. I've got, you can actually see it a little bit back there. I've got Luke Skywalker's helmet, which I'm excited to build. I'm getting into the little Star Wars scene a little bit. Maybe a little too much, but you know, we all have to have things. And I hope you have some things this week. And speak of things, I hope you have a great week, first of all. I hope you accomplish a little bit of a goal that you set for yourself or like work towards it. Remember, no 0 days. So make progress towards your goals every day, both big and small. And try to make every day a no 0 day. And since we're on the topic of taglines, I hope I find you in the next Missing Pieces.